Mary Poppins is one of those shows that I've been meaning to catch for ages, and I just never really got around to seeing it. Look, I love theatre, and I love a variety of different theatre, but I tend to stay away a little bit from family shows. Mainly because of the fact that it's essentially a lottery on what your audience is going to be like. And I'm not even really talking about kids here, because I honestly don't mind a kid singing along to a song that they kind of know, because, like, they're kids and at least they're engaged with the piece of theatre. Or, like, an audible gasp or something, like, you can tell that they're responding to what they're seeing. Like, as long as they're not being too distracting, I have nothing bad to say about it. It tends to be the adults that annoy me at family shows, but after a very interesting trip to Beauty and the Beast in April, I kind of stayed away from family shows. But one thing led to another, and last Thursday I had a space to see a matinee. So I got some day seats to see Mary Poppins. So, what did I think of the show? How does it compare to similar Disney theatrical musicals I've seen? And did anyone ruin my experience? Let's find out. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie, I talk about theatre. I do reviews, I do discussions, I talk about news. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribing. It really helps me out, it helps out the channel. But let's talk Mary Poppins. The big word with any musical like this is the word adaptation. I mean, technically, this is an adaptation of an adaptation. The musical is based on the film, which itself was based on the book. I mean, it's still not the furthest you can go with it. Take something like Lion King, for example, which I will be touching on quite a lot in this review. The musical is based on the original film, but the original film is kind of structured and inspired by Hamlet. But then Hamlet is also inspired by a Norse legend. So would that make Lion King an adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation? Ooh. It is quite nice to see the stage show unafraid to play around with structure and change the film. I feel like when you go and see a lot of these Disney theatrical shows, you're essentially just getting the same experience as watching the film, but played out in front of you. There seems to be a fear of changing too much with a lot of these shows. But Mary Poppins plays with this source material, moving around song placements and changing the context and where they come. For example, take something like Spoonful of Sugar. Its original placement in the film is when they first go into the nursery and they're tidying up. In the musical, this is moved slightly later, as Jane and Michael trash the kitchen and Mary Poppins helps them clean it up. Or something like Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which instead of happening in the painting and coming a little bit too close after Jolly Holiday with Mary, now comes towards the end of Act 1 and happens in a sweet letter shop. I don't really know. Both. And even the film's finale, Let's Go Fly a Kite, is pushed all the way up until, like, the beginning of Act 2. Moving around these songs that the audience are going to be most familiar with really helps the pace of the show. And it allows each of these songs to truly take up their own moment in the show. And while losing Let's Go Fly a Kite as a finale is of course upsetting, I feel like the show has new ideas and new tricks to show that makes up for this fact. I feel like this also allows the stage show to have its own identity. Sometimes, just a little reshuffle of a show can really change it and make it work so much better in a different format. One of my biggest problems with a lot of the Disney theatrical shows is that the old content, the classic content from the film, and the new stuff that they're bringing to this musical don't always blend amazingly well together. Lion King has some fantastic new material in the stage show, like Shadowlands, for example, but when you place that song next to Just Can't Wait to Be King, they don't blend very well. They're so contrasting, and they don't always feel like they're coming from the same show. That's not saying Shadowlands is bad. Shadowlands is a beautiful song, a very powerful ballad. However, it does do a slight disservice to the show. No matter what, when you are adapting something as popular as Lion King, Mary Poppins, Aladdin, etc., etc., the original songs are what is going to be at the forefront of people's memory. People are waiting for The Friend Like Me, the Prince Ali. People are waiting for Can't Wait to Be King, for Be Prepared, for Can You Feel the Love Tonight. People are waiting for Step in Time, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Let's Go Fly a Kite. And when you have two different sets of songwriters, like Mary Poppins has, like Lion King has, it becomes a lot harder to blend these styles. That was one of my biggest fears going into Mary Poppins. However, I must say, they do a very good job at mimicking the style in the new music. Practically Perfect feels like a song that was written for the original film. And Jane and Michael get a really beautiful short solo about what they would like in a perfect nanny. These songs blend quite well into the material of the show. And they add a lot to the original songs from the film. They slow down Spoonful of Sugar's intro a little bit. They add a spelling section to Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Step in Time becomes a massive Act 2 showstopper. They really highlight these songs because at the end of the day, these songs are going to be highlighted in your brain. If you are a fan of Mary Poppins, it makes it feel grandiose and adds a lot of the flair and charm and magic that can be done through a stage adaptation. Talking about magic, I feel like every production of Mary Poppins needs to have that sense of magic in the air. It can be something simple, or it can be the big tricks that this show pulls off. There's so much magic in this show, simple and complex, that really allows it to be as effective as it is. From Mary Poppins' surprise entrance being a nice little simple trick with just a little touch of lighting, to Bert's gravity-defying tap dance. At times it can be a little bit obvious how these tricks are pulled off, but I don't think it ever really took away from the magic of it. I think it can get away with this because there is a certain cheekiness to the show. It's a little bit wink wink nudge nudge in that perfect British way that Mary Poppins feels so endowed with. And the final trick of the show, Mary's exit, is just such a fantastic moment. It's that kind of awe and wonder that makes Mary Poppins such a fantastic family show. All the performers in this cast that I saw were fantastic. Charlie Anston plays a very stern Mr. Banks, but behind all of his performance is that little glimmer of hope that the change is right there behind him. It really keeps the audience on his side, even throughout the character's more harsh moments. And I wanted to mention Petula Clark, who plays essentially what is the cameo role of the Birdwoman in this production. Her version of Feed the Birds is so slow and touching. You really get engaged with her performance. Although I do wish this version of the show had kind of expanded on her. Maybe even seeing a few more glimpses of her here and there throughout the show. But let's talk our two leads. Zizi Strallen is such a perfect Mary Poppins. She's stern, but she's kind. She has the cheeky smile. She's so lovable and warm. As an audience member, you get on board with her Poppins almost straight away. But the real standout for me in this entire show is Charlie Stemp as Bert. His energy, his charm, his talent, I could not take my eyes off him. He has such a brilliant energy on stage. He is such an effortless performer. I think there's a lot to admire about the design of this show. They lean into a certain storybook influence on a lot of the set pieces, especially with how the house is introduced, pushing towards the front of the stage and almost unfolding itself before you. The house with its clear colours, the almost painted effect on the side panels. It is a really beautiful design. And each of the different locations in the show feel really unique and special. The costumes gave us exactly what we needed. The classic fashion that you really go to associate with Mary Poppins. The Victorian influence, the chorus being a bit, darker coloured, reflecting the era, and the bright splash of colour that's Mary Poppins, and the reds, the purples, the blues. I feel like the design really represents the era well and really highlights our lead characters. On the whole, I would really recommend Mary Poppins. Out of all of the Disney theatrical shows, it's the one that I have most enjoyed. It plays with the source material, it builds on it, you feel really connected to these characters. And I can't believe I'm saying this because it's so rare that I come out of a Disney stage show enjoying it more than I enjoyed the original film. Mary Poppins is magical, it's fun, it's such an uplifting show that's paced really well and adapted brilliantly. If you are going to see any family show, any Disney show, I'd recommend this one before it closes. But what do you think? Are you a fan of the original film? Are you a fan of the stage show? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribing. It really helps me out, it helps out the channel. But that's it for me today, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye!